Greetings! I am Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It's still Friday. It's time for part 2 of classes from Pathfinder. Alright, let's just get into it. So the first one we're going to talk about in this episode, the Fighter. The Fighter is exactly what it says it is. It's someone that fights with weapons. It's as simple as that. Now, they get a D10 hit dice. They have 2+ intelligence modifier skill points. They have full base attack bonus. They have good fortitude. They are proficient with all simple and martial weapons. They are proficient with light, medium, heavy armor, and all shields. Noting, they note they are proficient with tower shields. Most classes are not proficient with the tower shield. It will say under your shields, fighters are the exception, so I'm going to let you know with fighter, since they are the only one that says that. Fighters require strength, dexterity, constitution, the physicals. Now, you might lean towards dexterity, you might lean towards strength, depending on your fighter. You might choose to have both of them in lesser constitution, but physicals is the way of the fighter. And what do fighters get as they level? A fighter at first level gets a bonus feat. I've mentioned feat before, it's spelled F-E-A-T. A feat is an ability you can choose, similar to a class ability, or a racial ability that gives you a bonus or something special you can do. There's a whole list of them. Fighters get bonus ones. They get extra feats. So, as a fighter levels, they get more and more. They get it at first level, and every even level they have, from 2 to 20, they get an extra bonus feat. What else do fighters get as they level? They get bonuses against fear. They're very fearless. They also get bonuses when using their armor and their weapons. You choose like groups of weapons. Like I'm good at heavy blades, like a great sword or a long sword, or I'm good with big axes. You know, you gain bonuses with that group of weapons. You choose more groups as you level. You also get bonuses when using your armor. They're easier for you to use. You have less. You can move around better with them. That sort of thing. That's what a fighter gets. So let's move on. What's next? The monk. The monk is a martial artist. They're sort of like Eastern styled, like traditional Shaolin monk kind of, you'd think about them. There are traditionally Eastern settings in a lot of these worlds. Like for Pathfinder there's one. A lot of the Dungeons & Dragons worlds have them. So monks can be a little stretch in your GM's world setting, but traditionally they're a base class and they're fairly fine. You can assume that maybe you learned from someone. You don't have to be traditional like Eastern monk, so to say. You can be like a version of it from more traditional like history. You're just trained in a certain way. So what about monks? You have to be lawful to be a monk. So there's only 3 alignments you can be. That's a big thing. They get a D8. That's their hit dice. Wisdom is their most important stat. Wisdom comes into play a lot with a monk. Whether you're dexterity or strength based, after that is entirely up to you. Dex is always good, constitution is always good. You can have a lot of strength if you're doing a lot of physical damage that way. It's entirely up to you, the rest of the build. Now, they get 4+ intelligence skill points. They have a 3/4 base attack bonus, and they are the only class in the core book that all 3 saves are good. So they have all good saves. So now what do you get for being a monk, beyond just the basic numbers? Proficiencies. They're proficient in a number of monk weapons, which come from a lot of lists. There's some exotic ones, some simple ones, some martial ones. They are not proficient in any armor. So let's start saying what a monk gets. They get a bonus to their AC. Now the bonus is based upon 2 things. 1, their level. As they level up, they gain just a static bonus. They also are allowed to add their wisdom modifier to their AC. So a monk with a high dex and a high wisdom would add both those modifiers to their AC. Pretty good. Now they also get unarmed strike, meaning most of the times if I come up and try to punch someone, I leave myself a little open. I'm not trained at it. Unless I specifically take abilities to be trained at it, I might leave myself open. I don't really do a lot of damage. I'm, not really hurting someone by doing that. I'm doing non-lethal damage. I'll talk about what that is later on. Monks can automatically do either lethal or non-lethal, and they get higher dice of damage, which that dice becomes bigger as they level all the way down to 20. So they start doing more damage with their fist, and they become more deadly martial artists. What else do they get? They get a flurry ability. A flurry of blows, as it's called. This means, it means they get a sort of separate base attack that it sort of defines it, that you treat it as if you're two-weapon fighting, that you can fight with both fists. Think of it that way. So you get extra attacks, but you get a penalty to it. You get a -2 to all those attacks. So if I normally would get +2, just one punch, I get 2 punches at +0. And as you level, you can get more punches with each hit. I'll explain how the attacking works and how you can get more attacks later on as you level, because you can. I haven't talked about that before, but monks is a good point in time here, because they really get a lot of attacks, and they get up to like 7 or so. So, monks can flurry. What else can they do? Well, as they level up, they move faster. They get fast movement. They also get the ability to gain key points. They're like spiritual points that they can spend for some of their abilities to enhance them. They can slow fall, which means if they're near a wall, they can slow their descent, meaning they can sort of slide down a wall. And as they get higher levels, they can slow fall farther. They get more abilities based on their bodies. They eventually, as they level, will gain immunities to poison, to diseases. They'll gain spell resistance, which I've mentioned before. These are the sort of things monks get as they level up. And a lot of those abilities I've mentioned get better. Their flurrying gets better, their punching gets better, their bonus to AC gets better, their speed gets better. Those are monks. Next up, the paladin. The paladin is quite literally a holy warrior, a crusader. They have to be lawful good in Pathfinder. I'm mentioning in Pathfinder because other editions can be more free and talk about having other versions of Paladin. But specifically in Pathfinder, at this point in time, you have to be lawful good. You have to be the goody two-shoes of the party, which is not necessarily bad. You're the moral compass of the party. So, they're crusaders, which have either a moral code or an actual divine deity that they're sort of focusing on, that they're bringing into the world. It could be either. So they get a D10 hit dice, full base attack bonus. They have 2+ intelligence skill points. They have good fortitude and will. They're proficient with all simple weapons, martial weapons, light, medium, heavy armor, and shields. They are not proficient with tower shields. Charisma is important to a paladin. It's their top ability. But strength is very important too, because they tend to be more melee-based than ranged. But you could do it the other way if you want. Now, you also get the ability to detect if something is evil. You can just do that. You can sort of focus and be like, is that evil? You can smite evil, which means you get bonuses to hit and damage something that is evil. Granted, you don't have to identify it ahead of time, but you can waste the ability if you just guess, that seems evil. I'm going to smite it. Oh, it's not. Too bad. But then again, most times, if you're a paladin, the things you're going to be fighting are probably evil in the game, and you're going to be able to assume some things that aren't. Now, you also get the ability to lay on hands. It's a healing ability. You can quickly do it to yourself every turn, if you wish to. It doesn't interfere in your combat. You would heal yourself a little bit. As you level, the healing gets more potent. Or, as an action on your turn, you can do it to an ally. Now, paladins do get spells. They only go up to 4th level spells. They do not have cantrips. All 4th level spell people do not have cantrips. They get auras, special auras, which they grant themselves and party members nearby bonuses against things like fear and charming, stuff like that. They become immune to disease eventually. They also gain mercies. Mercies are little special abilities you can add on to your lay on hands. That maybe your lay on hands not only heals your ally, but removes any fear from him, or removes any kind of like that. It removes status ailments on people. There are status effects that can happen to people. It's a very role-playing-ish term from like video games, but that sort of breaks it down. You choose different mercies to have that remove certain abilities. What else do they get? They get a divine bond, which you can either bond with a weapon or a mount. If you bond with a mount, it's a lot like an animal companion that a druid has, that I mentioned in the last episode. It gets other separate special abilities that are based on it being your paladin's mount. Or you can bond with a weapon, which means you can enhance your weapon with magical and holy abilities for smiting, for destroying evil, that sort of thing. That's a paladin. Let's move on to the last class today, Ranger. Rangers are hunters and trackers of the wild. That's a good way of describing them. Now, they get a D10, full base attack bonus. They have good fortitude and reflex. They are proficient with simple and martial weapons, light armor, medium armor, and shields. Now, they require wisdom. And then you either choose wit, dexterity, or strength, and you really base your character around that as your other ability score. What do they get at first level? Other than these all basic scores. Oh, they also have 6+ intelligent skill points. So they're pretty skilled. So they get a favorite enemy. Now, monsters break down into a number of types. There's animals, giants, undead, such as zombies and vampires, humanoids, like humans, elves, dwarfs. There's a whole listing of types. There's a certain number of them. What favorite enemy is as you level, you choose a number of these types, and you get bonuses to attack and damage those types. So at first level, if I chose animal, I get a bonus to attacking and damaging animals. Now, there are certain ones, like the humanoids, where you have to choose a certain humanoid. Like, I have to choose, I'm good at damaging humans, I'm good at damaging elves. There aren't a lot of those, there's a few of those, but there's an entire listing in the book of the favorite enemies you can have, and you choose one, and as you level, you get more choices, and your earlier favorite enemies get more potent. Okay, Rangers also gain bonuses to tracking people. Tracking is based on the skill survival. I haven't gotten to the different skills there are, but tracking is based on that, and you get bonuses to when you're using survival to track. You also get wild empathy, just like a druid, meaning you can be diplomatic with animals. Now, what else do Rangers get as they level? They get a combat style. In the core handbook, there are only 2 combat styles. 2-weapon fighting or archery. With the archery, you gain bonus feats based around using a bow. At certain levels, you can choose from certain bonus feats. It gives you a listing, and as you level up, you gain more and more, making you a better archer. The 2-weapon fighting has its own separate rules. You can use a weapon in each hand, depending on how the weapons are, how big they are, things like that. Depends on if you get bonuses or penalties to fighting with 2 weapons. They get the ability to do it better than most people. Granted, anybody can take the feats to be a 2-weapon fighter. A fighter itself could be a 2-weapon fighter. But Rangers get it as part of their class, along with other abilities. Now, Rangers also get favored terrains. Similar to favored enemies, you choose environments like city, mountain, plains, forest. You gain bonuses when combating there. They also gain spells. Their spells are divine spells. They are selected like a druid's. I forgot to mention, for the paladin, they're divine spells too. Forgot to say that. But for the ranger, it's divine spells, just like all the divine spells you choose from the list. They get up to 4th level, no cantrips, no 0-level spells, and it's based on their wisdom. So they can choose a bond, where they can bond with their companions, which means they give bonuses like their favorite enemy bonuses to their companions, or bond with an animal. If they bond with an animal, they get an animal companion like a druid does. So it's either you're getting an animal companion to fight with you, or you're granting temporary bonuses to your allies. So you choose one of those 2. And then they get also some other skills and abilities which make them better hunters. So that's it for today. That's the Ranger. So, please, leave a comment if you enjoyed this video. Leave a like, definitely. Become a citizen, join the Empire. We're always, always, always looking for more subscribers. And until next time, I bid you farewell.